His brain chemistry is blocking his ability to connect and preventing you from developing the secure relationship you have always wanted. Because for avoidant men, intimacy doesn't feel safe. It feels like a threat. And their entire life has been built around avoiding that threat at all costs. Because an avoidant man can become secure. The problem is that most people go about it the very, very wrong way. They push, they beg, they demand, or worse, they shrink themselves down, hoping that less will make him love them more. None of that works. Why? Because they're trying to solve a neurochemical problem with purely emotional solutions. If you're in a relationship with an avoidant man, you know the frustration. He pulls away just when things get close. He seems allergic to vulnerability. And every conversation about emotions feels like pulling teeth. But here's what nobody tells you. Avoidant men aren't just being difficult. They cannot imagine secure attachment. It's like asking somebody who has only ever seen in black and white for their entire life to describe the color red. They've never seen healthy relationships. They've never seen them modeled. They've never experienced healthy connection themselves. They have no data for secure attachment, so it does not make sense to them. A trusting, intimate relationship where a person will not let them down or betray them, and if anything goes wrong, that person will work in good faith with them. They've never felt that. So they don't have a frame of reference for an unshakable trust. Everything is dangerous. Every relationship is doomed. Again, if they've only seen like that, they can't imagine a world where that's not the case. Now, before I share the following 5 transformational strategies that will help, let me explain first what's really happening beneath the surface of your avoidant man. Now, let's be very, very clear here one more time. Avoidant attachment is not a choice. It's a trauma response that develops in early childhood. It's based purely on survival, not logic. As an infant, this person experienced such deep social pain or emotional neglect that their brain made a decision. I will never feel this pain again. And just like that, their system closed the door on transparent communication and the possibility of any secure connection. Their oxytocin receptors, the very structures in the brain responsible for close, intimate bonding, are physically blocked by their sympathetic nervous system. When you ask them to connect deeply, you're asking them to do something their biology is actively fighting against. It's not that they don't love you. It's that they don't know what real, secure love even feels like. And this is not their fault. And it's not your fault either. Their system is so far in a permanent state of sympathetic nervous system activation, the fight or flight mode. The system is not designed to keep them happy. It's designed to keep them protected. When you say, just open up and trust me, to them it sounds like you're saying, just jump off this cliff. It'll be fun. Their entire system is screaming, danger. This person is encouraging you to get hurt. But each strategy builds on the last strategy. So to systemically rewire his attachment system, you've got to go through these in order. Okay? This is not about manipulation. I want to be very clear. This is not behavioral modification that he's simply going to sit there and be party to. This is not you leveraging things against him and controlling him. None of this is dehumanizing him. All of these strategies are going to show him what an honest, transparent, loving, peaceful relationship looks like. So everybody watching this, take a breath. You do not have to manipulate or change anybody. And doing these 5 strategies will give you a much better relationship as well. So this is not about catering endlessly to him. I want to make that very clear as well. This is about building a relationship that is great for both of you. Strategy number 1, the art of being inviting. This means creating an inviting space that attracts him instead of trying to grab and pull him into intimacy forcibly. Avoidant men are used to being hunted in relationships. This is what they come to expect, being sought after, tracked, carefully farmed and mined for what he's giving, and then have things taken away from them. Freedom, most likely. Most avoidant men are used to people grabbing at them emotionally, pulling, demanding, and punishing them if they refuse or withdraw. This confirms their worst fears about connection. Now, the science here: avoidant men have heightened amygdala activity in response to perceived relationship demands. When you create an inviting, calm space rather than pursuing, you reduce his cortisol production and allow his prefrontal cortex to remain engaged. This prevents the emotional shutdown response you've seen that occurs when his threat detection system is activated. Instead, you should view your relationship as a warm, inviting area. It's comfortable, it is safe, and it is calming. You're not trying to lure in and trap a wild animal and slam the cage shut. Instead, your full feminine self is extending a genuine invitation for them to join you in a place of rest. When he's with you, his nervous system is calm because around you, you are always at peace. You are calm. Doesn't mean you're perfect or don't have emotions. We'll talk about that. But it means you create a place of peace. When he comes to be with you, it is a shelter against the storm that is everywhere else in his world, but not with you. And again, this doesn't mean endlessly catering to him. It means creating an environment where, for example, his thoughts, his feelings, even his doubts are welcomed without judgment, and you can talk things through peacefully. He can express himself at his own pace. Emotional safety is consistent, not conditional. You listen without immediately trying to fix, debate, or challenge his thoughts when he opens up. You acknowledge his feelings as valid, even when they differ from yours. For example, you might say, I understand that you feel frustrated about this situation, rather than, you shouldn't feel that way. You give him physical and emotional space to process before expecting a response to deep questions. You maintain consistent emotional regulation in yourself, regardless of whether he's drawing closer or creating distance. And you express appreciation for his vulnerability when he does share. Thank you for telling me about that. I know it's not always easy to share, but I'm honored to have your trust. Here's why this strategy is so powerful. It directly targets his fear of losing his autonomy. By creating space for him and inviting rather than pursuing, you're rewiring his expectation that intimacy means loss of autonomy, and allowing him to come to you instead makes him calm and free. When his nervous system isn't in defensive mode, he'll naturally become curious about investigating the inviting space you have created on his own terms. I often use the scared cat analogy. Ethical avoidant men react much the same way that a very scared cat would react. If you were to bring a scared cat home, what would you do? You'd create a calm, safe, cool environment where he could relax. You'd let him explore at his own level. You're not going to let him wander off into damaging areas or start eating your favorite rug, but you are going to calmly allow him to come to you and explore at his own pace. As you do that, that builds his trust that you're not going to grab him. When he feels at rest and peaceful in this environment, it becomes his home. You want him to feel that you are his home. When he takes these small steps toward you without feeling pushed, pulled, or grabbed, he builds new neural pathways in his brain that associate closeness with you with peace rather than with danger. Now, here's a pro tip. When he does share something vulnerable, at some point he will, personal, no matter how small, respond with calm interest rather than excited overreaction. Most women at this point pull out their scalpels and start trying to dig. Instead, say something like, "Thank you for sharing that with me. I really appreciate knowing more about you." That's a really great way to reward it, then step back. Here's why this is so important to him. Though he may never articulate it to him, again, he doesn't even have the framework to do so, avoidant men desperately want connection without feeling trapped. They want both. They want to be free and calm because to them that means peace. It's not that they want 15 girlfriends. They want free, calm safety where they could run away if they're ever in danger. That's a key aspect. And they want peace so that they never need to run away. And then they want closeness with you, which they've never really shared with anyone. That's what they want. And that's what you're fostering and building. This approach respects his need for autonomy, so he could run away if he ever felt in danger, while still offering intimacy and calmness, that combination he's never experienced before. Because he's free to run away, he doesn't ever need to. Now, the outcome here, if you do this, is his amygdala calms down. His oxytocin receptors begin to open up as his sympathetic nervous system cools. And in your presence, his oxytocin bonding receptors open sometimes for the first time in his life. He'll start initiating contact with you more frequently. He'll start sleeping deeper with you, by the way. And he'll say things like, I just can't believe how peacefully I sleep when I'm here. It's crazy. The quality of his presence with you will also change. He'll be more relaxed, more authentic, and engaged with you together. When you're together and sharing those moments, he'll also be more affectionate because oxytocin drives affectionate behaviors. This creates a positive feedback loop. His comfort leads to more connection, which leads to more comfort, which leads to more connection. And this is the perfect cycle of a great, fulfilling relationship for both of you. Now, that's just strategy number one. But that begins the process. You must do that first for everything after to work. Strategy 2 is be consistent without clinging. Avoidant men expect love to be conditional. They are hypervigilant for signs that you'll eventually suffocate them emotionally. If you're steady and predictable and emotionally regulated, especially during conversations, difficult ones, during tough days, during stressful moments, you don't have to be perfect, but steady, predictable, and emotionally regulated, it rewires their brain. The science here is that inconsistent caregiving in childhood creates inconsistent neural firing patterns in the relationship centers of the brain. Your steady, predictable presence helps his brain form new, stable neural connections. Additionally, when you maintain your own emotional regulation, you prevent the emotional contagion that triggers his avoidance. As you get stressed and agitated and start to shove it down, trying not to burden him, he becomes stressed and agitated, wondering where that's going to erupt. If you aren't doing that, he calms down. The key is demonstrating that you can be emotionally present without being emotionally demanding. And this doesn't mean you don't have needs. In fact, you must have needs. But here's what this actually means. You don't use "why won't you" accusations. You're not going to have desperate attempts to sneak around and force connection. And you know what I mean. You may have done them in the past. And you're not making your emotional safety dependent on his immediate attention. In reality, you need to bond slower. You need to be somewhat emotionally detached from immediate outcomes. That doesn't mean you're an emotionless robot. It means having a core of inner stability that isn't shaken by his occasional avoidant patterns of step in, step out, step in, step out. He steps out to see if it's okay. You overreact and tell him it's not. He freaks out and takes 5 steps out because he's afraid of getting grabbed. If he takes one little step out and you just yawn, he steps right back in and comes to snuggle with you. That's the pattern. Make sure that you can yawn instead of freaking out and chasing. Very key. Here's why this is so powerful. This strategy disrupts his core belief that relationships are inherently unstable and unpredictable, thus unsafe. Avoidant men expect love, if they can even believe in love, to be conditional. They're hypervigilant for signs that you will eventually suffocate them emotionally, as we said. When he realizes that you're not going to collapse into him or become demanding when he retreats, he'll begin testing the waters by actually coming toward you and sharing more authentically to see if it provokes that chase response. He'll start revealing parts of himself that he's kept hidden to see what you do and if you use the information to trap him. And he's not going to share because you demand it, but because you've consistently made it unthreatening to do so. And the more that you respond calmly and warmly, calm and warm, calm and warm. These are your 2 words, calm and warm. The more he will begin to relax into it. Pro tip here, develop your own sources of emotional fulfillment, friends, hobbies, personal goals, so that you're not placing all your emotional needs on him. This paradoxically makes you more attractive to avoidant men because you're not collapsing into the relationship and they feel calmer. It's important to him that you do this because underneath his independence is a deep fear of depending on unpredictable people. Your emotional stability gives his nervous system the safety it never had, and that allows him to relax his hypervigilance, again, maybe for the first time in his life. The outcome, if you do this, is that his brain registers that you remain constant regardless of his behavior. His attachment system will also begin recalibrating. He'll show up more consistently himself without that push-pull pattern that you're used to. And you'll notice a marked decrease in defensive behaviors and an increase in genuine engagement. This has to build on the initial safe, warm environment. And then as he tests the environment proves it is still calm and warm. This leads to strategy number 3. Invite him back warmly. I told you, calm and warm are your words. When he inevitably does pull away, and he will at times, his stress level will lead to it. Your response in that critical moment determines everything. Avoidant men have conditioned neural pathways in their brain that associate reconnection with emotional overwhelm. To an avoidant man, that feels like punishment. Every time in the past that they've stepped away, they've come back and the person overwhelmed them emotionally. Oh my gosh, I thought you were gone forever. Oh, and they'd flood him and he goes, oh no. Each time you invite him back warmly, instead of guilt or anger or resentment or crying or 15 long paragraphs of a text message, you invite him back warmly, cordially even, to a tea party. You're creating new synaptic connections that associate return with reward rather than pain. This eventually becomes his default expectation. Many women that I coach get this wrong. They either chase him with increasingly desperate messages, right? Like 15 long paragraphs every 3 days. They try to placate him by forcefully pleasing the desires that she imagines he's feeling without even asking if those are his real desires, or they fall apart emotionally and beg for reassurance, which makes him feel punished for taking space for himself when he was already stressed. Instead, when he resurfaces, respond with warm, casual invitation. Hey, I've missed connecting with you these past few days. Would you be open to dinner this weekend? Saturday or Sunday works for me. That is a fantastic text message. That's what I encourage most of my female clients to send first. 18 paragraphs about crying and feelings, not going to do it. He's gone for another 3 weeks. Instantly like, whoa, that is a grenade. I am not pulling that pin. But hey, I've missed connecting with you these past few days. Would you be open to dinner this weekend? Saturday or Sunday works great for me. Notice, no guilt trips, no punishment, no neediness, just a simple, calm, warm invitation back into connection through a wide open door. This is powerful for him because this strategy directly counters his expectation of emotional onslaught when he returns from withdrawal. It breaks the pattern where reconnection becomes increasingly difficult and painful, eventually leading to permanent disconnection. When reconnection feels rewarding instead, he'll begin to return to connection more quickly and voluntarily. Instead of extending his withdrawals to avoid anticipated conflict, he'll actually begin to seek reconnection himself faster when he feels ready. He feels stressed, he goes and breathes, he comes running back, looking forward to the reconnection. Isn't that what you want? Pro tip here, definitely one of the biggest pieces. Keep your messages brief, positive, and focused on moving forward rather than analyzing why he pulled away, apologizing for imagined crimes that you've committed. You're going to get that wrong too. Or flooding him with your undying love and desire. None of that is going to feel romantic to him or entice him back. None of it. Okay. Imagine you have a scared cat who took a few steps outside and you walk out onto the front porch and stand there sobbing and screeching uncontrollably. What is he going to do? He is not going to come back in the house. He is going to hide for a week. And then you walk back in the house and instead you're calm and you're relaxed. You shake the bag of kitty treats and you just sort of relax. And he hears it. What does he do? Zoop, right back in. This is what you're looking for. Inviting into a warm connection, right? Invite into a warm connection. Don't stand on the front porch sobbing. Very, very key. Here's why this is so important. Avoidant men, especially the ethical avoidant men that you're actually looking to build relationships with, experience tremendous stress from constant scanning for threats in their relationships. They remain hypervigilant at all times regarding mood shifts, tone changes, or subtext in conversations that could clue them into an important secret that could rear its head later and do them harm. Because of this hypervigilance, avoidant men need space from others in order to truly relax. They can only relax in a locked, silent room with no other humans. That is the only time they can rest. But avoidant men are also used to a lifetime of others being angry at them and feeling abandoned when he takes space. He goes to his quiet room and hears uncontrollable sobbing already. He's used to people begrudging him every minute he spends calming himself down, waiting miserably for him to come back, and then guilting him endlessly just because he needed to recharge and be at peace. When you purposely schedule in time for him to go have alone time or space, and then when you calmly invite him back, he will view you even more positively for respecting his needs. You're the one person on the planet who does. Now, if you do this, the duration and frequency of his withdrawals will naturally decrease. When he does need space, he'll communicate it clearly rather than disappearing. Hey, I really had an absolute hell of a week. I really need to just take a day for myself. Is that okay? Can you be okay? Yeah, I'm going to go see my sister for a while. You go have fun. No problem. I'll go hang out with my mom. Go hang out with my best friend. I'll go shopping. We'll have a fantastic time. It's all good. I'm going to go enjoy my time. You enjoy your time. What are you going to do? Oh, I'm just going to lock myself in a silent room and pretend humans don't exist. Ah, that sounds fascinating. Well, have a great time. I'll be here to greet you when you're done. Do you want to have dinner that night or wait till the next morning? This is how you can talk to him. And eventually he will talk to you this way. More importantly, he'll begin to see returning to you as a source of peace rather than stress. He goes, locks himself in his silent room, in his mind palace. And then as he's there, he begins to miss you. He begins to think, I would actually feel better when I was with her. I would actually feel more at peace. I actually feel a lot of peace. I only need like 20 minutes in this room. Now I'm kind of lonely. And then you get a call, like 20 minutes, half an hour into your private day. Hey, you know what? I realized I am a little bit open to hanging out. Are you still available or are you already gone? No, I'm still available. I haven't even left yet. I was just doing my hair. Oh, well, hey, why don't I join you on whatever you were going to do and I'll come with you. Okay, that sounds delightful. All of this stems from being that warm, inviting presence where he now desires you tremendously. This grows his desire for you. Now, strategy number 4, as you see, all of this is now building, right? Strategy 4, you've been warm and inviting and connecting. Now you slam the cage shut. No, now instead you apply consistent, reasonable boundaries. Boundaries are not punishments. They're not traps. They're not you finally getting what you want. Boundaries are expectations for a healthy relationship. It's setting it up so that you can continue to be sustainably warm and calm. It's making sure your needs are met and that you are not receiving hurt or harm from the relationship. You are fulfilled and you are safe. But how do you communicate these to an avoidant man in a way that he understands? Because communicating it makes all the difference. This is where most people unfortunately get it backwards. They start with really rigid boundaries and then they start establishing predictability later, which confirms to the avoidant person the fear that connection means control. They invite a bunch with free, no strings attached fun, which is also not appropriate. And then they make him super like fulfilled and stimulated. And then they apply rigid boundaries and start making demands. Now that you have eaten here is the bill. And then if you do that afterward, I'll be more consistent. And that's where things go catastrophically wrong. Okay? Only after you've established a consistent pattern of calm and warm through the first 3 strategies, not endlessly catering, not no strings attached, but warmth and intimacy. Only then can you begin applying healthy boundaries. And you push back on the avoidant behaviors themselves. You should have boundaries as a human, but a boundary against the avoidant behaviors in particular is crucial. You do this in a nurturing way that's calm and warm. Nurturing does not mean catering to. It also does not mean accepting something you're not comfortable with or hurts you. Instead, nurturing means this. When he returns after disappearing, if he disappears, doesn't let you know, he just runs off into the night, and then he comes back, his fur is all full of burrs, right? The scared cat. You might say, I'm really glad to see you, and I've missed you. At the same time, when you disappear without communicating for days, it does make it hard for me to feel secure in our relationship and to respond to you the way that you desire. I know that you are capable of better communication. So if you need space, that's completely fine. I just need a quick message letting me know that you're taking some time and for how long. Get that? This is a very key boundary. It is not okay for him to run out on you without saying anything. It is not okay for it to be indefinite abandonment. It's also not okay for you to not feel safe or secure, like you're being abandoned all the time. Now, it's normal for him to need some space and some breathing. You guys should probably schedule that into your relationship, maybe once or twice a week, but he needs to be communicating effectively, especially if you are giving him warmth and intimacy. His co-regulation with you is just as important as your co-regulation with him. The key is addressing the behavior while affirming your belief in his capacity to grow. You always run off. You don't care about me, and it hurts me, and it's miserable, and I don't know why you don't love me as much as I love you. No, you've ended the relationship that way. And unfortunately, a lot of people do. A lot of people do that. Okay? Boundaries, healthy ones, activate the prefrontal cortex, the rational planning part of the brain. Now, for avoidant men who operate primarily from the emotional limbic system when they're triggered, this engagement of the prefrontal cortex creates new neural integration between emotional and rational brain regions, the left and right. That's essential for secure attachment. By holding the boundaries that respect both your needs and his, you demonstrate that mutual care is possible, something most avoidant men have never experienced. This is an entirely new brain pathway for him that you're crafting with him. When boundaries are clear and consistently held, and then following those boundaries is warmly and calmly rewarded, he'll begin to respect and even appreciate those boundaries. Nobody respects and appreciates a contract like an avoidant man. But a contract has to be clear to them. Eventually, he'll start to anticipate your boundaries and adjust his behavior proactively. He may even begin to express and maintain his own healthy boundaries in a good way. That's a critical skill for secure attachment. By saying, hey, I'm really at a place where I really need some breathing room. I'm going to go away for about 4 hours. I'm just going to be with Ted over there down the street. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere crazy. But during that time, I'm just going to throw my phone on Do Not Disturb. I can't stand to be around humans. Ted barely speaks. He kind of grunts. And we're just going to spend some time relaxing, playing horseshoes or watching the football game. I really just need to breathe. So for the next 4 hours, I'm going to be off the grid. Is that cool with you? I'll be back in 4 hours. There's a boundary that he might actually explain. That's great. You need that and you want that. It actually calms your nervous system too. Pro tip here. Frame boundaries as what you need to feel secure, rather than what he's doing wrong. This avoids triggering his defenses. Why it's important to him to do this, I can feel you asking already. It sounds counterintuitive, I know. But boundaries actually make avoidant men feel more relaxed when they're applied in a calm, measurable, clear way. That's all you're attracting is avoidantly attached men. Now, for a healthy man, or disorganized, anxious, any of the other men, saying, I don't need a man, means I don't need the masculine in my life. I am my own man. I want you to sit there, and all you're going to do is give me emotions and experiences. Your entire purpose in my life is to give me good feelings and good experiences. Everything else I can replace you for. Now, a good man will hear this and say, wow, that's horrible and degrading. I'm replaceable and I'm worthless to you. This defies all natural bonding. It prevents any level of true happiness. You are going to be angry, miserable, and irritable the whole time, and he's going to be detached and feel like he offers nothing. I work with a tremendous number of very financially wealthy female clients, and they come in with this messaging that men don't like women who have more money than them. And I've heard this a lot. I've heard a lot. It's not true. Men don't like it when a woman has no need for him. But biochemically, evolutionary psychology-wise, neurobiochemically, a woman does need the masculine so that she can enter a rest parasympathetic state, decrease cortisol, increase her estrogen, have periods and cycles that are healthy, have a proper immune system, no migraines, less muscle tension, less chronic pain, clearer thinking, deeper sleeping, richer serotonin levels, proper oxytocin bonding, and long-term longevity, overall well-being. To have a masculine figure in your life who is performing their proper duty is biochemically sound. Now, could you do without this? Yes, but we've described what your life is. Look around us. An estimated 1/4 of all American women are on a psych med. They are deeply unhappy. They are on TikTok saying, I am tired of being masculine. So you need someone who is masculine and safe and dependable and trustworthy and worthy of your respect. Yes, you need a worthy masculine man who is safe and provides safety to you. I've talked extensively about the safety that men must provide. But yes, you do need a man. And yes, a man does need you as well, by the way. Now, here's some serious problems. If you say we are two individuals in a relationship and there is nothing that you offer me, or if he says it to you, what this does is prevent the deepest, most monogamous bonding that you need. There's a biochemical called vasopressin. It's a bonding hormone. And we see that in mammals, when we block it, they cheat. And when we flood them with it, they become fiercely monogamous and intimate and protective. We solve problems and get vasopressin. If we solve problems alone, we get no vasopressin. If we solve problems with somebody, we get vasopressin and associate it with that person. This then allows the deepest level of oxytocin bonding, warmth, intimacy, and belonging. Now, the lack of this, I don't need or want you, fosters contempt, distrust, cheating, destroys monogamous bonding, destroys the biochemistry. Again, amps up her nervous system out of control. Becoming abusive, controlling, collapsing into fawning and pleasing, all of this is likely. It will not end well. The woman will become dysregulated, freaked out, angry, bitter, neurotic. And this is not her fault. This is the programming our culture has taught women. You must be utterly alone and self-sufficient at all times because men are scum and they will betray you. So who's going to love you? I will say good men and good women are built to integrate. Okay? Now that you understand what's been sabotaging your bonding ability, you need to learn the hard truths about how men actually work. And I'm going to warn you, this next section, it is going to challenge everything that you think you know about male psychology, biology, and neurology. Really quick, if you're realizing that everything you've been taught about relationships is backwards, you need to understand something. These myths didn't just appear out of nowhere. They're part of a cultural shift that has left several generations of women completely unable to form secure bonds with men. I do have a complete system that teaches you how to create secure attachment based on actual science, not cultural trends. But first, I need you to know these hard truths about male psychology because they're going to change how you approach every relationship from now on. So stay with me to the end of this video so I can give you that resource. So here are the hard truths about male psychology. Number one, men need emotional intimacy for good sex. Men need this bonding hormone called oxytocin. Oxytocin, actually, interestingly enough, drives the male sex drive toward a partner. Instead of a general arousal at the world through testosterone and dopamine, oxytocin and vasopressin combined say you. I am aroused by you. In this state, the male sex drive begins to mimic almost the female sex drive of being very partner specific. And interestingly, after the first 7 months, when novelty dopamine dies, he will still be robustly aroused toward his female partner. And actually, this attraction and arousal will grow over time. Did you know that in laboratories right now, they're testing the effects of oxytocin on men? Number one, they're finding that when they spray oxytocin up a man's nose and he associates it with a person he's sitting with in a room, it actually makes him deeply affectionate toward them, visibly, noticeably, measurably. We also find that high levels of oxytocin are associated with a robust sexual arousal and climax for men. We're actually looking at replacing Viagra with oxytocin. Now, this is sad because we should be getting full, robust oxytocin through emotional connection. When I said men need emotional connection and intimacy for good sex, oxytocin should be flowing through the relationship with his partner. And it should be, yes, I'm ready to go because of you. But it's not, especially in today when men are emotionally starved and not emotionally bonded. Truth about men, number 2, similar, men are touch starved and they need emotional safety. Men are emotionally and biochemically starved for touch. The research shows that most men after the age of 10 experience almost no physical affection whatsoever, almost no more hugs, maybe once in a while with mom, maybe, until they start having sex with a partner, and then they only experience touch during sex or in that first year of the relationship when she's trying to get emotional connection. As they don't emotionally bond appropriately, like most couples don't, her touch stops or dwindles, and he's emotionally starved again. Most men are touch starved, and they're programmed to believe they can only get it through sex. Anything else is inappropriate. Men need touch. There's something I call the oxytocin pipeline. It begins with emotional safety. I am safe enough to relax in your presence. Your oxytocin receptors open. Now we begin emotional intimacy and emotional connection, verbal, conversational, sharing, learning, being understood, belonging. Now begins non-sexual touch, hugging, holding hands, touching, brushing, gently, all of it. And then with partners, this can lead into sexual touch, deeper petting, right? Groping, playing, fun, squeezing, extra deep kisses, right? Tonsil hockey. This leads into foreplay. Massive boost of oxytocin. When the partners have followed this pathway, they are both deeply aroused and ready to go, and robustly aroused, both of them. This is where you don't need the bottle of lubrication or the little blue pill. You're ready to go, leading into a full, enriched sexual experience where they are oxytocin bonding, where she's climaxing multiple times because oxytocin contracts the uterus. And he's having a great time, better than he's ever felt. Leading into explosion and then aftercare, where you're emotionally connected for 5, 10, 15 minutes, talking, touching, safe. Looping back to emotional intimacy and going through the whole pipeline again and again and again. And most men and women are not getting this. Now, this leads into harsh truth number 3 about men, is that sexual needs are real and must be understood. Sexual starvation is real for men. Women ovulate once a month, right? And your sex drive amps up extra hard and becomes almost like a male sex drive for that short window of time. The male sex drive does this roughly every 72 hours, over and over and over and over and over. Okay? Men have sexual needs. This does not mean a man will die without it, although it does shorten his life if he's not getting it. It can. He needs all of these robust bonding experiences and oxytocin and connection we've talked about, and it's part of the natural oxytocin pipeline. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about both sides equally, simultaneously, mutually taking care of each other, so the oxytocin pipeline is full, and we're appropriately caring for everybody's needs. Now, if we said a man has no responsibility to take care of his wife's emotional needs whatsoever, that sounds like abuse. A wife has no responsibility to take care of her husband's sexual needs whatsoever. Yay, she's brave. No, that's also actually abuse. Sexual starvation of your partner in a monogamous relationship against their will is abuse. Now, this is not saying if you're medically injured, you're not voluntarily depriving them on purpose. That's a different story. You talk with them and build an understanding and figure out how to solve problems together. But saying, you haven't made me feel very good in the last 6 months, so yeah, tonight's a no as well. For 6 months. Actually, I have clients that it's actually been multiple years. This is also abuse. If you choose to be with a man, you are choosing to meet his needs. If he's choosing to be with you, he's choosing to meet your needs. If you only celebrate one of those and get angry at the other, you are the problem in your relationship. Let me pair. Now, I'm going to get into the wounds here in a moment, but first, we have to talk about hidden neurological damage. Here's what that actually means. Most couples, they focus on surface level behaviors. They miss the underlying neurological brain destruction that happens when those behaviors are present. Your brain doesn't distinguish between emotional wounds and physical trauma. Both trigger an identical stress response in your nervous system. Every wound that you inflict on each other as a couple creates a cortisol association. Your brain associates your spouse as a source of danger. You make me hurt. You associate pain and agony with their presence, their voice, their smell, everything about them. And that cortisol association destroys your chances of connecting. Now, every wound floods your system with this cortisol, the same hormone released when you're being physically attacked. This cortisol, by the way, when it's present, blocks your oxytocin receptors. Oxytocin being that bonding hormone that gives you a sense of belonging, connection, affection, and warmth. That blocks in the presence of cortisol. So the more cortisol you associate with your partner, the more your receptors lock tight and shut in their presence. So that even if you go in doing date nights and talking to each other and trying to have fun, your receptors are clenched shut and won't let you bond with them. You cannot feel connected or safe because your brain won't let you. Then your amygdala, the threat detection center of your brain, starts cataloging your spouse's behaviors as dangerous and malicious, even when they're not. Now, unfortunately, many couples where both people are trying to be good and loving, and there's not a villain in the piece, even good couples, they don't see these wounds coming. These wounds can develop so gradually over time that your brain adapts to the damage. You think growing apart is sad but normal, and you just accept the decline because it's so gradual. You're focused on the relationship problems while your nervous systems are quietly building walls against your partner. By the time you notice the emotional distance, really feel it, years of neurological damage have already occurred. And the scariest part, these 7 wounds we're about to talk about, they often look like normal relationship behaviors that we've all come to expect in our Western world, where marriage is laughed at and spit on. You might be causing brain trauma right now and think it's normal and have no idea of what's coming. So it's time to go through the 7 hidden wounds that kill your marriage. Wound number 1, invalidation. Telling a person what they're feeling isn't real or isn't important. I know it seems minor, and we do this a lot, but it creates massive neurological damage. Your partner's nervous system starts viewing emotional openness with you as dangerous. Sending the message of, I don't care about your pain and I'm not going to help you fix it, turns you into their enemy. Now, what does invalidation look like? This is what I'm feeling. No, that's not how it is. This is what it feels like to me. No, you're a liar. This is how bad it is. No, that's not really happening. Stop exaggerating. That's not it. You're wrong. Invalidating. I don't care that you're hurting. Here's how I see it, and that's all that matters. Most of us don't mean to do this. We do it when we're stressed, we're already upset, we're agitated, we feel defensive, we feel attacked. Your brain interprets this, though, as abandonment. You're not important. I don't care what you have to say. You're in pain, sucks to be you. Not my problem. When we invalidate our partner, your partner's nervous system learns they can't trust you to speak up or with problems, concerns, sadness, hurt, their inner world at all. I am hurting. I am sad. I am scared. Shut up. That's the message. Shut up. This is invalidation. Now, validation, the opposite of this, does not mean, wow, you're right. That's exactly how it is. I will do anything. No. I am truly sorry that you feel that, and let's find a way to make it right. Some people will stop at, I'm sorry you feel that way. Validation is, I'm actually sorry that you feel that way because I care about you and I don't want you to be hurting. I don't know that I agree that that's what's happening, but if that's what you feel, then let's deal with it. How can we take care of you so you don't feel that way anymore? That's validation. Invalidation is anything short of that, okay? Your nervous system learns, you make my pain worse. Wound number 2 comes with a stack of invalidation, unresolved conflicts. As you let these conflicts linger, this is a problem. No, that's not how it is. It builds up for 3, 5, 10 years. That's not how it is, so we're not going to solve it. Unresolved conflicts that just blow up. You have a big fight, you stop, and you can't fix it, so now you can't talk about it anymore. These unresolved conflicts linger for a really long time. And what happens? You both try to pretend everything's fine. This creates ongoing neurological stress and tension and fear, and it starts blocking your oxytocin receptors from each other. Unresolved issues become a cortisol trigger that activates whenever something related comes up, any related topic at all, which keeps the nervous system in a chronic state of hypervigilance around their partner. Even worse than this is the male brain doesn't relate to problems very well, so it doesn't see that this one thing is related to this arguing match they've had for 5 years. The female brain makes massive connections. So if he's been invalidating her and not resolving issues for 10 years, everything ever connected to that reminds her of that core wound all the time. This is in theirs. Your brain doesn't track what they do, only what they don't. Your brain doesn't track what you don't do, only what you do. The score is inevitably going to skew bad. It seems logical. I should just kind of keep track of how invested we are. But it doesn't actually keep track of how invested you both are. You're just tracking your arbitrary metrics, and then it destroys your bonding. Okay, this is really bad. Everything becomes transactional. Scorekeeping creates selective blindness where you become neurologically unable to notice your partner's positive contributions at all while becoming hyper aware of their failures and shortcomings. I'll give you 2 examples. One is the angry husband who works extensive overtime and says, you just lounge around at home all day. You don't even work. You're just having fun. You're relaxing. I'm working like a dog. And the moment I come in the door, all you do is bark, bark, bark at me. I do everything for you and you never even show me an ounce of kindness. Let's take the opposite. The wife who feels like her husband is constantly gone all the time, working, and never shows any emotional intimacy whatsoever, as she is maintaining the entire household, the family, the emotional connections, pursuing him to do all the relationship maintenance. I am always upkeeping our relationship. I'm tracking everybody's life. I'm exhausted from the mental load. You just go to work and then you come home and act like king of the house, like we're all supposed to serve you. You do very little for us. Nothing. Both sides. Maybe you heard yourself in that one. This is how both sides begin scorekeeping and feeling like the victim where the other person is the villain. That's cortisol association, by the way. Scorekeeping turns you into the victim and the other person into the villain who's attacking you. Now you're the hero of the story who gets to rise up and push back against them. That's filing for divorce, by the way. You lose the ability to see any kindness in your partner, any of their efforts, any of their contributions. Who was right in that scenario that you just saw? Was it the husband working overtime to provide for the family? Was it the wife maintaining the mental load and the connections in the family? Who was the good one who contributed everything, 100%? Who contributed 0? Turns out they're both contributing and caring for each other, and they're both sad, and they're both lonely. That's probably the majority of couples I see come in, by the way. Now, the next step, wound number 4, is emotional withdrawal. And I don't mean just you step away or you're tired, whatever it is. You start pulling away emotionally, which creates injury in your partner's nervous system. It registers as rejection trauma. A withdrawal creates a cycle. Your partner's pursuit of connection feels suffocating, so you withdraw. This withdrawal creates a cycle. Your partner's pursuit of connection feels suffocating while you're burned out, so you withdraw even more, which triggers even more desperate pursuit behaviors that justify your continued withdrawal. And then when they stop pursuing, you start chasing and they withdraw, and you start chasing more and they withdraw. Usually my couples come in like this. One tries to connect, gets burned, pulls back. The other says, oh no, they were trying to connect. So they try to connect, and then they get burned and say, well, screw that, I'm not trying. And they say, oh no, you were trying to connect. And they go back and forth like this, trying to connect and always feeling like they're the one that's doing all the work. Most couples, each one feels like they're the one doing all the work. Very few times do I ever have a couple come in and say, yeah, you do all the work. And it's not, I do everything, and actually mean it usually either, by the way. You can't really do everything in a relationship. All those absolutes like that, that's just you with the cortisol association hating your partner or them hating you. Now, as you go through this withdrawal, that hidden damage, your partner's attachment system, if you have attachment issues, usually, goes into panic mode. Creates desperation, angry behaviors, wounding. Why do you keep rejecting or abandoning me? I tried to engage in physical intimacy with you tonight and you slapped my hand away. I will never initiate sex again. I tried to hold your hand and you pulled away. I will never try to hold your hand again. Right? It's this. Connect, no, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's that back and forth over and over and over until you both feel rejected, you both feel unloved, and you both feel frustrated and alone. Now, wound number 5 is similar, but it's kind of exhaustion. Neglected connection. Repeatedly shutting down attempts to connect, like we just talked about, because you're tired, you're run down. You're busy. When both of your nervous systems are feeling hurt, you begin to feel fatigue and exhaustion. Then you reject even more than you were doing before. You stop even trying, both of you. Each rejection feels like micro traumas that accumulate over time until both of you stop trying completely. Now that it's not anyone trying, it's people backed off totally. This is not just a loss of that oxytocin bonding hormone that we otherwise would buffer you against some of the issues on this list. It's pain from feeling unwanted, unloved, emotionally starved. The damage here is that your brain learns reaching out at all equals pain. So both of you completely stop reaching at all. And that's the death of intimacy right there. Now, this leads very quickly into wound number 6 as the cortisol association begins to flood. Disguised disrespect, barely disguised. This goes back to the beginning of this video. Eye rolling, sarcasm, passive aggressive comments, mocking disguised as humor. I have some couples that come in and they report, Adam, we watched your videos on marriage and love. And when it got to the part about the spouse giving them intimacy and safety, they looked at me and said, yeah, that would be nice. Right? Even trying to get better causes these wounds. It appears somewhat harmless and sometimes laughing it off, but it destroys the respect and safety pathways in the brain. This creates what researchers call contempt. It's the strongest predictor of divorce. Number 1, according to the Gottman studies. Contempt, you are beneath me. You are not even human anymore. I don't owe you dignity or kindness because you're not worth it. Contempt is the number 1 strongest predictor of divorce. One of the most powerful wounds is this one right here. It sets you up for tremendous pain, anger, rage. It activates fight mode, even in peaceful partners. It's you walking along and someone comes up and stabs you in the side with a knife for no reason. The hidden damage, your brain starts seeing your partner as an active, aggressive predator beneath you, but they think they're better than you. And you now have to beware of living with a dangerous predator in your home who will come and find ways to hurt you without warning. They're not just hurting you during arguments. They're hurting you for fun whenever they find you. Basically bullying. And if you're the one doing this in your marriage, you are bullying your partner the same way. And they're friends. Oh yeah, everything's great. We're going on trips. Oh yeah, we love each other. It's wonderful. Maybe even go to couples therapy. And you're like, no, it's great. I want to do everything. I'm so ready and so committed. While you have zero real emotional closeness privately. It creates a massive cognitive dissonance. It confuses your bonding systems, right? Well, he said he wants to connect with me and build bonding in couples therapy. But then when he got home, all he did was scream at me and tell me how dare I bring up problems in couples therapy. It makes the partner look like a deceiver and a liar if they ever go to open up to anybody, which is somewhat part of the problem and part of the reason doing this. It creates questioning about their honesty and things they've said. This is where people begin to feel gaslighted. Gaslight is a term I use very carefully. It means they are intentionally misleading you to confuse you so that you can't actually act back against their aggressive behaviors while convincing you that they have your best interests at heart. So they are lying to you on purpose to get you to lower your guard so that they can hurt you intentionally. That's gaslighting. The hidden damage here, your brain cannot form secure attachment because intimacy feels fake. And you don't trust them to be truthful. They are now a liar in your eyes and you see them lying and you never want to trust them again. The biggest damage here is when the person, and I have plenty of these couples, the person actually says, oh my gosh, I finally get it. I really want to change. And their partner goes, yeah, I've heard this one a lot. I've heard this one for the last 20 years. I'm not interested anymore. And they go, no, I mean it this time. I feel it. I really get it. And I look at them and I'm like, wow, this person gets it. And I look at their partner and the partner's like, yeah, no, I'm not interested. Thank you, but no thank you. And even now that it could be saved, that damage is too extensive because they've damaged their ability to ever trust again. Now, do you really want to know the worst reason why this is terrifying? Once these wounds, especially this last one, creates enough neurological damage, your brain will resist the relationship repair process even when you try to fix things. In fact, the damage can be so severe that even if you both agree sincerely to give it your best shot, your cortisol association can sabotage your best efforts as a couple, and you just keep fighting. Now, the neurological damage that I'm describing here compounds every single day that you leave it untreated. Each wound makes your brain more convinced that your partner is a threat and more resistant to bonding attempts with them. And when I say brain trauma, I don't necessarily mean blunt force brain trauma, but the neurological pathways, the neurological roads in your brain that map partner to threat. That's that trauma response to your partner forming in your brain right now. Now, you've watched this far. Adam, you're asking, what the heck do I do about this? We're going to go through the repair process that most couples skip, okay? And I'm going to be very clear. You can't just start being nicer or communicating better or going on dates or buying nice lingerie when there's neurological damage. You have to actively repair the threat associations that your brain has built up around each other. This is going to require both partners to acknowledge the specific wounds that you've created without turning it into a blame session. And then committing to unified repair work that proves safety to both nervous systems. Now, most couples fail because they try surface level fixes like date nights and love languages while their brains are still categorizing each other as enemies. That's what we need to fix. So we must address the neurology first. Your nervous system, if we don't, is going to sabotage every attempt at connection until you prove to your brain that your partner is safe rather than threatening. And that requires consistent, predictable, positive interactions over time. Unfortunately, traditional couples therapy usually fails. 50% failure rate is what the research seems to indicate because it focuses on changing behaviors without addressing the underlying neural pathways that drive those behaviors or resolving the cortisol association. So you end up fighting against your own biology as you're desperately trying to connect with each other. That's why a lot of couples end up worse after couples therapy. The breakthrough, though, comes when you understand that you're essentially retraining two brains to see each other as allies instead of as threats, which requires very specific reprogramming protocols that work with your neurobiology rather than against it. Now, when I have couples come into my coaching practice that want to work with me, I follow some very specific steps. I'm going to lay them out for you right now. Okay. Step one of resolving this is naming each wound honestly, but without attack language. Hey, we've been invalidating each other for a long time, and it's creating distance between us. Or even better, invalidation in our marriage has really created a lot of wounds, and we need to resolve that together. Rather than, you always dismiss my feelings. The situation is the issue. The partner's not the issue. If you want to destroy your marriage, make your partner the problem. See how that works for you, okay? They are the problem, Adam. Cool. Let's see how that works for you. But if you want to resolve this, the invalidation is the problem. The situation is the problem. The situation is the issue. The invalidation in our marriage is creating distance between us, and we need to resolve that as a couple. Not, you always dismiss my feelings. This is crucial, okay? You have to name the wounds. I usually have couples list out 3 top areas that are hurting them the most. 3 top friction points. The invalidation, the eye rolling, the disrespect, whatever it might be. List out your 3. Now you put them together. You've got 6 key areas to start fixing. Now, step 2 is to completely eliminate those behaviors that create the cortisol associations. No more sarcasm. No more unresolved conflicts, no more emotional withdrawal during difficult conversations. I tell my couples, if you want to ruin your marriage and have a $1 million loss from your marriage just going down the toilet, losing your home, your family, your kids, cool. Keep being passive aggressive. If you don't want that to happen, you must stop passive aggressive comments today, right now. So which one do you want? Do you want the divorce and the financial loss and hurting your children? Or do you want to maybe control those passive aggressive behaviors? Which one do you like? It's your choice. Most people tend to opt to stop passive aggressive behaviors at that point. And I'm only that harsh on couples when I absolutely have to be. And some people need it, quite frankly, to be honest with you. But as we get rid of those unresolved conflicts and stop the bleed, all of a sudden the cortisol associations at least pause and they can begin to diminish. Now, what's amazing is step 3, flooding your relationship with positive bonding experiences that prove safety to both of your nervous systems. Prioritizing first, resolving the cortisol, but magically, as you resolve the cortisol as a team, your brain releases a bonding hormone called vasopressin, which says, you're not my enemy, you're my ally. I was hurting and you helped me. I was suffering and you stood beside me. You solved it with me. We are allies. Now, this bonding hormone makes you actually want to be monogamous, connected, and loving. And that releases your oxytocin receptors to open up again, instead of being shut with cortisol, to open up. Now you want to feel belonging, affection, warmth, intimacy. And then you can begin date nights and play and fun and sharing and laughing because you have safety. This means now prioritizing connection rituals that trigger oxytocin and rebuild your love and trust on a neurological level. Now, you must follow this exact pathway. Name the issue, resolve the issue, build vasopressin, build oxytocin. It has to go in that order, okay? Most couples therapy gets stuck at complaining about the problems and blaming each other. You make me feel X. No, use I statements. I feel like I hate you, right? Doesn't really seem to go anywhere. It's just rehashing miseries, okay? Okay, you hate each other. Go on a date tonight, right? Dates, oxytocin. No, fix the cortisol association. Name the circumstance and the situation. Unite against it, fix it, vasopressin bonding, oxytocin bonding. That's the order. Now, once you understand that these marriage problems are actually neurological problems and injuries disguised as relationship issues, everything changes. You stop trying to fix the symptoms and you start repairing the neurological pathways that are driving your problems. And that's where your marriage really begins healing and becoming loving and intimate again. Now, I'll be really clear, more clear than I possibly can be, right? This is going to be it. The distance you're feeling isn't because you've fallen out of love or because you're incompatible. It's because your brains have been trained through repeated wounds to protect you from each other instead of bonding with each other. And now they're blocked from bonding. This isn't your fault, but now that you understand what's really happening, it is your responsibility to fix your side of it. The good news is that neurological damage like this can be completely reversed when both people understand the repair process, when they commit to doing the work consistently as a team. Your marriage isn't doomed because you have these wounds. Every couple has wounds at some point. The difference between marriages that thrive and marriages that die is whether the couples understand they're dealing with this trauma cycle and then take specific steps together to heal it. Oxytocin is the primary driver of warmth, safety, intimacy from women. They still need vasopressin, but they need oxytocin probably more from their systems. Men need vasopressin more. So loss of vasopressin is devastating. This is their primary pathway to develop deep bonding through shared goals and protective instincts. Without this chemical, the relationship doesn't feel like us against the world. That goes away. It's me, even alone. And that makes monogamy feel restrictive instead of exciting. Now, when you're failing to develop oxytocin and when the vasopressin has dwindled and gone and there's no more dopamine, something awful begins to really happen. You don't solve problems together. You start being angry at each other and you can't solve the problems or the arguments. The wife might say, "You work too much." What she's actually thinking is, "I don't feel like a priority, and why are you always there? You work 80 hours a week of overtime, and you don't even connect to me anymore. Where am I in your life? Can we please spend more time together?" And he just hears, "You work too much." And he says, "Screw you. You can't tell me what to do. I'm going to work. Don't you realize I have to take care of our family?" What he's not saying is, work is the only place that I feel like I accomplish anything. I don't feel connected anymore. I don't know what to do. And I have to take care of us. And I don't like being controlled, so don't yell at me, right? These are the real conversations that are having. But You work too much. No, I don't. Don't you realize I have to work for you? Begins building something called cortisol. In particular, something I call a cortisol association. Your brain associates stress and pain with their partner and says, when you're around, issues get worse. You make me feel sad, rejected, and unloved. You hurt me. You make my life harder. We have a word for people like that. Enemy. Your brain has a system for people like that. Threat detection. This drives a massive wedge between you because your nervous system starts treating your partner as a source of stress instead of peace, comfort, love. Okay? Your love is not just fading away. Your love is being drained and starved and then actively smothered and killed by stress hormones that make your brain categorize your partner as a threat and makes them categorize you as a threat. Now, the final stage of this, every interaction becomes disappointing at best, stressful and painful at worst. And because your brain has been conditioned to expect problems when your partner's around, the moment they walk into the room or you see or hear or smell them, you bristle up like you have to fight. This is where couples completely shut down emotionally because vulnerability around that person now feels dangerous rather than connecting. You end up with all four systems failing. No dopamine rewards anymore. No oxytocin bonding. No vasopressin teamwork. And now an active control problem with cortisol issues, which creates the roommate dynamic where you coordinate, but you stay apart and don't connect. Now, here's the brutal reality. These four stages, they happen in specific order, which means they can be repaired in specific order. And I do that with my coaching clients. We walk through it. You can do it. But most couples, they try to fix stage 4 problems with stage 1 solutions, which is why nothing works. Hey, we hate each other. Lingerie will fix this. If you're recognizing these stages in your relationship, you need to understand something critical. You cannot rebuild emotional intimacy by jumping straight to emotional conversations and date nights. That doesn't work. Without addressing the brain chemistry in the correct order, you're just creating more cortisol associations when they don't work. The complete system, by the way, for reversing these 4 stages in the proper sequence is exactly what I teach in my How to Build a Secure Marriage video course. That course walks you through the total step-by-step process, starting with cortisol reduction and vasopressin bonding and all the rest, then working up to oxytocin and dopamine safety. The link for that video course is in the description. Now, in the rest of this video, I'm going to share what you exactly need to do for this recovery process to work. Step 1, you must address the friction points. You have to end the cortisol association completely, okay? One practice I have couples do when they come in for coaching, write down the top 3 places they feel afraid, sad, lonely, confused, or disconnected. Notice I didn't say like angry, hateful, resentful. Sad, lonely, confused, afraid, disconnected. The vulnerable feelings, the ones we don't want to list. List them out. Now list them out as a couple. Now you have 6 points when you put them together, 6 friction points to work on as a couple. This gives you a targeted improvement plan instead of vague attempts like better communication, use I statements, I hate you. Use I feel statements, I feel like I hate you. No, 6 key places where you can solve problems together. Working on these together just to reduce the friction, by the way, not only reduces the main points of cortisol and convinces your brain that you're not enemies, it immediately enhances your vasopressin bonding because you're functioning as a team. Now, this step is critical and cannot be missed and must be step 1. You can't rebuild intimacy while your nervous systems are treating each other as threats and enemies. That cortisol association must be broken first. This in particular is why couples therapy that focuses on date nights and intimacy doesn't work. You have to reduce the cortisol association and improve the vasopressin foundation. Most couples therapists try to work on this by having you talk about why you hate each other and why you're sad and miserable. Then they try to have you talk about the first day you met to try to make you feel better. It doesn't usually work. Name the cortisol moments, name the friction points, get 6 targeted places to start working on them, and build plans to address each one. If you get stuck here, this is where you can work with a coach. Me and my team are happy to help. We have these 6 points. We need to fix them. Let's go through them together with a professional. Now that's a targeted plan. You have to reduce that cortisol though, and then begin improving the vasopressin foundation. When you tackle problems together instead of avoiding them or fighting about them, your brain stops categorizing the other person as an enemy, which is step one. And now step two treats them like a partner and an ally instead. How do you get a man to release oxytocin? You help him understand that there's the sympathetic nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, peace mode. You ask him if you want him to be his peace and if he's ever been happy. You research vagus nerve stimulation together. It's breathing. Some deep breaths. So when you guys sit together, you can do some deep breaths. And then you rest with him. You can lay on his chest. You can actually lay his head on your chest. It's one of the most overwhelming oxytocin experiences for a lot of men. He has to come all the way down where he's not buzzing or he's going to be too self-conscious. He won't be able to relax laying there. But if he can lay down and relax, he can lay his head on your chest. Overwhelming flood of oxytocin for most men at that point, ladies, and you'll usually enjoy it too. Most women say they actually enjoy that more than they enjoy laying on their partner. They enjoy him laying on her. So very, very, very important. And you'll stimulate a lot of oxytocin during this release too. You're designed to. Having a loving person laying on your chest. Oxytocin, again, allows for the letdown of milk, for milk supply, for baby to drink, everything. So you're designed to stimulate overwhelming amounts of oxytocin when someone you care about is laying on your chest. Very, very normal and very, very healthy. So that right there, huge amounts of oxytocin. Or you can scratch his scalp with your fingers gently. Rub his shoulders for him, rub his neck. Most men, the stress level from sympathetic nervous system, and it burns magnesium, so then your muscles cramp. It's not the neck. Ladies, it's usually the base of the skull for you. For men, it's actually further down in the shoulder area here, right in the corner, in the crook, and a little bit lower as well, down closer to the shoulder blades. Those are two places. If you massage those while he's relaxed, massage those while he's close to his parasympathetic nervous system, he can enter that parasympathetic nervous system and immerse into it. I wish they'd named them different things. And he can immerse into it, relax, and then really bond with you. And you can actually be easing his pain. This is ultimately, if we want to look at male and female like a symbiotic relationship, female is on the inside running the home and the family and the friends, the connections, the children, everything. Men are on the outside operating against threats and pulling in resources, hunter-gatherer style. Even if that's not what modern day does, it's what we're built for. Men come back and receive nurturing from women and that bonding, grooming that both of you need. You're probably thinking about emotional intimacy a lot, ladies, right? This is what you can do to get that emotional intimacy is caring for him and him caring for you in return. After you rub his shoulders, he can rub your shoulders. You can rub each other's feet or back, and that leads to all kinds of fun usually. Just talking about your day a little bit more. If he learns how to talk about his day, I have a video here on this channel called How to Talk to Women. It is not about cold approach dating. It's actually emotionally intimate talking and conversation. How to talk to women. It's here on this channel. For avoidant men who want to learn how to actually communicate with your wife in a way that she will really, really receive and grow her desire and her respect for you. So very important that you do all of this. All of this starts really stimulating that oxytocin as long as that avoidant man is open to this. Again, you're going to catch his attention by saying, have you ever been happy? And would you like me to be your peace? The research says that's impossible, both of those, if you're stuck in the sympathetic nervous system. But you're supposed to come home, hunter-gatherer style, and relax with me so that I can then nurture you and immerse you into your parasympathetic nervous system. Symbiotic hunter-gatherer relationship.
And soothe yourself. Co-safety is where you can stay open and regulated with others, with safe others. This is where discernment and trust needs to be built in between you and others. And life safety, this is where you feel you can move through the wider world, feeling steady and secure in your body. Now, the first aspect of self-safety is learning how to self-soothe your body. This is something I talk about a lot on this channel because it is so important, and it's a skill that you can immediately begin to learn today. So self-safety and co-soothing is where you know how to calm your body down. You know that the body responds well to those particular tools, and this is all allowing you to feel safe in your body. Now, to help you get started, here is a massive list of a whole lot of self-soothing activities and tools that you can begin to start to practice today. If you're unsure of what anything is, simply just Google it or YouTube it. But these ones will allow you to connect with your body and really allow you to feel a sense of safety and connection inside of yourself. So be sure to screenshot this now and maybe just pick out one or two to practice over the next couple of days and just notice, does your body respond? Does your nervous system respond? Some of these you just won't respond well at all. Some of them might be a little bit triggering for you, so please pay attention to that and just focus on the ones that you know really work for you. And you might already have some of these practices in your daily life, so lean into them more, put them more into your daily life and really kind of magnify that. Now, the second aspect of self-safety is also understanding the role of dopamine and how dopamine has affected you in the way you try and connect with an emotionally unavailable person who's giving you intermittent connection, which is intermittent reinforcement. Because dopamine is a really big aspect of the reward system, right? So when you've been getting this intermittent connection, the connection that you do get those breadcrumbs is actually heightened and gives you more dopamine in your body than what a connection like that would give a person who isn't kind of hooked on dopamine in this way. So this becomes wired into your body. And this isn't just from your current relationship. This happens from an early age. And I know there's studies and there's chatter about how ADHD might be caused by trauma. I don't want to comment on that now, but I can see when I study the effects of dopamine in the body, how people might come to that conclusion. So when you become dopamine heightened or dopamine reliant in your body, this is where you're feeding the craving for emotional breadcrumbs, right? You're checking your social media, your texts together. You're just kind of keeping the connection alive in you. You're actually producing dopamine on demand in your body by doing those things. And you might not even need connection from him. You're able to just look at a photo or just a text or just think of a memory. So we're actually trying to now replace the thrill of maybe he'll respond or that connection that you've got alive in your body with steady dopamine sources that are produced by actions that you do. So they're not externally reliant on him or other people. So any kind of movement or learning or creativity, this is going to allow you to start to replace where you're getting your dopamine from and detox from this heavily embedded reward system that's in your body right now, right? When you start to do this, you're going to notice that the roller coaster starts to lessen. You notice that you feel a lot more confident and self-trusting in your body because you know that doing an activity is going to produce the connection, the dopamine, the happy feeling in your body that you need. And this also contributes to a feeling of safety. So I want you to go ahead and screenshot this list and start to incorporate these healthier ways of getting dopamine in your body. So a great thing to do here is to actually track your activities and your mood so you can see the craving fade as your reward system resets. So for example, you might notice and track that 5 or 10 times a day you think back to him or you think of your connection or you check his social media, and just allow yourself to do that with as little shame as possible. But when you notice you do that, just track that and try and replace that with something from here. You know, a lot of these are similar to the self-soothing practices, but they're actually giving you like a sense of achievement and reward, like a crossword or Sudoku, or even just having rituals. Rituals can give you a reliable sense of dopamine in the body, right? Allowing yourself to really get into this and notice then, even though the dopamine you're getting from this is not nearly as interesting and exciting as the connection from him, slowly over time by practicing this and tracking this is going to allow you to be able to control the dopamine reward system in your body rather than it be so heavily reliant on connection with him. Now, the second aspect of safety is co-safety, and this is consistent connection with safe people. The emphasis here really is on safe people, and discernment is key. You know who's safe and who isn't, and you might be in a position where you don't have any safe people in your life, and I really understand that. I've had times in my life where I've realized that when I've done a lot of shifting and changing and improving, and I've realized that the people around me that I'm spending time with aren't actually safe people to connect with. They're not emotionally attuned to me. They're not providing the space for me to be myself, and they're not asking me questions about myself. If this is you, a great place to start is actually just with a paid therapist or coach, right? That is going to be an attuned place. That is going to be, if it's the right person, and please do your discernment there as well, that's going to be a space that you can really show up and be yourself and start speaking and feeling into safe co-regulation with another person. And as over time doing that, really honor your senses around that. So spend time with people and friends that just love you for who you are, that give you space. Mentors, find them, or community members who are just emotionally consistent and non-judgmental and provide space for you. Notice how you feel in your body with these people. Like, our body's giving us these signals, even though we have this trauma in our body. We can start to listen to already. You'll feel warmer and calmer, and your breathing will just be easier. Think back on in your life where you felt that way with another person, and they are signals of safety in your body. Your body is giving you that the person you're with is safe. And register that this is what safety actually feels like. So if you can, schedule interactions in this way regularly so that your nervous system learns to expect steadiness in that kind of secure attachment, not the chaos of trying to get that connection from someone who's emotionally unavailable. This is also going to allow you to practice gradual vulnerability in a safe place. Vulnerability is a really big thing because when we have an abandonment wound or attachment wound, often we have this feeling that we're not good enough, or we need to deal with things alone. Maybe we're hyper independent. We're not good with vulnerability with other people. And a really important thing about co-regulation and co-safety with others is us having more of a chance to open up more, to bring more of ourselves into the light, to be seen and witnessed by other people. So practice expressing small truths with safe friends, or in coaching or therapy or wherever, or maybe even in journaling, like a voice journal, without self-criticism, just a way to start expressing and opening yourself up. And then increase your tolerance for being seen and cared for without shutting down or withdrawing, which just actually looks like practicing. It's like learning to ride a bike, and be sure that you're discerning this, right? Like, we can sometimes open up to someone who's not safe and they will judge us or say something that causes us to shut down. That's just a learning experience there. So use titration to your advantage as well, which is where you currently, if you've established a safe space within your body and your home, use that as your safe space, and then just take in connection in small doses with other people. You might only be able to do it once every other day to begin with, while actively regulating your body in real time, right? Get yourself back to safety when you're on your own. And this titration, you'll notice over time, you'll be able to increase the amount of time you spend with others in a more vulnerable setting as your nervous system expands and gets kind of used to feeling held in that space. Here's another really handy list of examples of co-safety experiences with others. So this is the really important aspect. You're doing this with another person or in a group that feels safe for you. So if you've got a safe friend or coach or mentor, a consistent check-in, meals, phone calls, or even just writing a letter to that person. You don't even need to be with them. You can pretend that you're connecting with them, and that will give that to you. So there are actually quite a lot of options here for you that don't actually necessarily involve you speaking with someone or opening up and being vulnerable, like, singing in a group together or exercising. If that's a person that you can feel comfortable with, or a group that you feel comfortable enough in, that co-safety will be there even with you being in a room full of strangers, right? So this is a really handy list. Please screenshot this and start leaning into some of these practices. Now, the third aspect of safety is life safety. And this is really about you feeling safe existing in a bigger world outside of relationships, where your nervous system is steady no matter who's around, right? So it's different from self-safety, which is the safety you have within yourself, and co-safety, which is the safety with another person. It's actually a safety that you feel in the world around you, no matter who is coming in and out of your life. And this matters because if your whole sense of safety comes only from self-regulation or from specific people, you're still vulnerable to losing your stability when life throws you curveballs. Perhaps you physically get unwell, or your body starts to have some issues in some way, or a connection that was secure for you becomes insecure, or that person leaves, or something happens. So when you build life safety, this really helps you to grow resilience so that you can meet that uncertainty without falling back into your old attachment patterns. For me personally, my life safety comes from my spiritual practice, from my sense that I can feel connected to this world and the people in it by being in a room on my own. That sense of spirituality can bring that to me. And however that looks like for you, this is a very personal practice, but I do have some examples of how you can practice this. One aspect of life safety that can come in is around purpose and meaning. This is where you engage in work and hobbies and passions that give you a strong anchor outside of love and partnership. Another aspect is these predictable rhythms, right? Rituals, things that you do every day. So create a daily and weekly structure that your body can rely on. That's going to really bring a sense of predictability and rhythm and secure attachment to you and the world. You can bring environmental cues of safety in your home, curating your home to be nice and clean, light-filled, or work in the routines so that your surroundings actually feel calm and nourishing. This can also help with those rhythms.
You become someone who notices versus obsessing over other people. OCDers have a very strong force of perfectionism that can make them very difficult to live with. I say that to put understanding to how often your sense of expectation can affect your spouse. And a big aspect of the healing journey for me has been learning how to heal that perfectionistic, high expectation, high pressure, high anxiety, high internal anger that I carried in my life. And it was a way of relating. And so with that perfectionism, you have this intense drive with expectation. You have very high standards in how you see things. So flaws or imperfections or missed expectation, which we often call disappointment, are very, very highly obsessive. They take center stage and they consume the way that we relate. So even in your, I didn't want divorce, it shows the black and white thinking you have of like, okay, I've got this battle, this thing going on. It must mean I need to divorce because I'm with the wrong person, right? And so anyways, you say you stayed and you suffered, but I do see you coming to some realization. One of the realizations you'll have to also come to is the sense of an inner critic. OCDers live with a very intense inner critic. You'll never meet one that doesn't have a strong inner critic. They're very hard on themselves. They put a lot of pressure on themselves. They accuse themselves, condemn themselves constantly, especially because they have all these unwanted thoughts and things swirling within them. That inner critic can translate into an outer critic. So now you take what's within you and you project it outwards, that perfectionistic nitpickiness. You nitpick their flaws, their appearance, their spirituality, the way they are. And now you're flaw analyzing And what does it take us away from? It takes us away from learning love, because love is about appreciation. It's about connection. It's about receiving someone in. It's about learning to grow in what love is. Whereas OCD will train us to be hyper-focused on flaws. And then we create a toxic interpretation. I must be with the wrong person. And that's the issue that I had to realize, was that this was not about the other person and me fussing and fixing and finding that perfect person. This was about how I related. I need to learn how to love. I need a new relationship with how I relate to fear. I need a new way of how I relate to flaws and weaknesses, facing them with truth. So keeping your mouth shut is a good step, in the sense of like, I'm not going to let this now drive me. Okay? There's some further work that needs to be done. If you are spinning in obsessiveness, you're going to be focused on flaws. And what the focusing on flaws, you know what it does? Is it creates a emotional reaction of disgust. Seriously. It creates a reaction of disgust within. I talk about that in my book. And so when you feel disgust, you feel a sense of moving away from something, right? So I'm not saying you're disgusted at your husband. I'm just talking about the emotion of disgust. It's an emotion that you smell something bad, or you see something that looks horrible. There's a sense of moving away, right? Or someone acts inappropriately. Right. And of course, in all of what I'm saying here, I'm not saying it's okay to overlook abuse or overlook major issues. But anyways, getting back to the sense of disgust. So if you see a flaw and you're a flaw-focused person, then it creates a sense of anxious disturbance within you, and you want to back away, move away. Or you get that outer critic and you pick a fight. And then that person reacts harshly and the fight goes, and in a way it's like gives validation to your nitpickiness. See, he's not a good person. It's his outward appearance, his inward intelligence, and his abilities. That's all. When you're under the scope of perfectionism turned on, no one passes. It's a very, that's why I said living with a perfectionist is tough. And then OCDers go, fine, I'll live alone. No, get back over here. Stop it with that. I feel totally unattracted to him and miserable and stuck. Well, yes, because your sense of attraction is built on him needing to be a certain way. And that can get into very tricky territory. Because when we live out of gratitude and appreciation, that well of love begins to build. And what we are in marriage, you're in a journey of learning to appreciate your spouse's strengths while also seeing their flaws through the lens of love. A lot of the exposure therapy is learning to see the flaws and not react to it, not feed it, and gently tune your senses to what you appreciate. And I think all marriages could benefit from this, of feeding yourself on a diet of what you appreciate about your spouse, because what you focus on grows. And if you're focused on what you appreciate, that's going to grow. And that's going to help starve out the perfectionist, because the perfectionist in you is fussing over what's wrong or what's flawed. And to focus your attention on encouragement, on gratitude. There's times your husband's going to go, what is wrong with you? He's not going to recognize you. Focus on gratitude, appreciation, calling out what is good, the things that are great about your husband. Encourage him and starve the nitpickiness in feeding that verbally. I'm on a new journey, and I'm walking through a healing journey on how I've been. And I'm really sorry about how I've been. And so I'm going to be practicing new patterns. And so I want you to know that sometimes you might see me be a little bit goofy. We're not going to overanalyze it. We're not going to, over nitpick it. But what you're going to watch is me making a transition into becoming a more grateful, more loving person. I want that. I want to love you, and I want to be more loving to you. And I'm sorry where I haven't. But you're going to need to work on nitpickiness of yourself. For a long time, you've taken the nitpickiness of yourself where you don't feel loved and you don't feel safe, and you're transferring it to look outward. But it's really what you're feeling inside. You're that pressure that you got. Come on and just love him. Just love him. And yes, we're going to decide to love, feed love, but you're going to move into the gentle cycle. You're in the harsh cycle. You're in the spin cycle. And we're going to move you into the gentle cycle. So that's being gentle with yourself, gentle with him. So let me talk to you about our men. They're highly discouraged. They are walking around with often a low-grade depression. They feel like drones in life. It's difficult to feel appreciated, excited. They're worn down, and begin to make a shift towards compassionate appreciation. Feed on it. Focus on what is good. Focus on what you appreciate. Call it out. Mention it. Let your mind and your heart meditate on it. Feed what love looks like.
Okay, I'm preparing to leave the house. I'm already feeling this insane amount of uncomfortability in my own skin, self-hate head to toe, not feeling good. Then I go somewhere and I walk in a room and I instantly think, no one can stand me. So then a persona would come on. Well, I'll try to be the funny person. So I'm adapting, right? I'm trying to adapt and shut the inner critic up so that I can try to feel okay in the room, right?
So real. This is
okay. But meanwhile, it's poking at me, and that, let's say in the moment I'm being the funny person, it's getting more amped because I'm trying to okay, I got to feel good. I got to feel settled. I'm feeling all these things and I got to feel this way.
Yeah.
Well, then you go through that and you leave. And now I'm in the car beating the living snot out of myself.
Spinning, right?
I mean,
right. Why
Why did you say that? You're so dumb. They think you're stupid. You look stupid. I mean, beating. I'm waking up in the middle of the night going over this. You're this, you're that. Why can't you get it together? Why can't you this? Why can't you just feel good about yourself? And then the Rolodex comes because it's like the enemy went, all right, well, I didn't even have to do anything. I don't have to do anything anymore because she's already just gone. Wow. So then it's like, look what you did when you were at this place. Look what you said to that person. They don't like you anymore. Look at this. You're not going to have any of this. You're not going to have any good friends because you don't know how to be comfortable with yourself. Boom, 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 boom. Well, after suffering from that, I still have days. I'm not saying I'm healed in that. And okay, this has been a long road for me. But in trying to look at it, I think there's been many stages for me in confronting this deep-seated lack of love for myself, not only for myself, but in how I gave it out and how I received it too, is okay. Going back to where did I first encounter, where did this first kind of manifest for me as a child, And I had to look at what was it like at home? How was I looked at home? And I have distinct memories. Now I know my mom watches, and her and I have honest conversations. So I know anything, her and I can discuss pretty much a lot of things at this point. Between my dad and I, there was a very deep thing that I know that my sister and I, to this day, we talk about. When I walk into a room with my dad in the room, I instantly know how he feels about me. Begin. And how was I first introduced to looking at myself and loving myself? And that was set at home. It was set in how I watched my father interact with my mother and how he treated her and treated us, whether he looked at me or not looked at me. And how that ultimately, that voice, something had to fill in the gap.
Not experiencing love. We're experiencing false sense of love. I fix this, then I'll be okay.
Right. This is my hurt. You're going to hear it and you're going to feel it. You're going to feel my hurt as I'm telling it to you.
Right. And that's why we teach so much on rejection and the rejection root, because rejection fuels that bitter perspective. Like a lot of times we come to conflict, we don't come to listen. We come to be heard. But then in life, when I would see conflict, this anxiety would kick up in me, discomfort. And I had to work through that.
We are not safe people. I don't really know many safe people. Just saying, I don't. I'm scared of people. But I want to feel safe. And I want to be safe. And I don't know that I can sit here and say to you that I'm 100% safe, only because I don't know if I can really give you my heart. So are you truly safe until you're able to do that? And I can volley beautifully with somebody? I don't know. I don't know what that truly looks like, but I do know that I want it. And confronting the anger and confronting the pent up things. All I know is that it's helped in getting to be that person that I want to be.